I'm going out long today. I want to take you along for the ride with 3 tips to help you master your endurance. Everyone, it's Graeme Street joining me here on my YouTube channel or on cyclo-core.com. Today I'm going to be going over some things that I've learned the hard way over the past decade of being an everyday cyclist, not just personally but professionally as well. I was never really born to be an endurance athlete. I'm more of a 400-meter sprinter, which is really what my background is, more explosive-like power. So to adapt into an everyday cyclist that's focused on tough, fatiguing, longer rides or multi-day rides day after day after day, I've really had to change not just my training and my philosophy on how I do that, but also I've had to really discipline myself to create assets that I didn't have before. And today what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a couple secrets and tips on how I've done that, give you a few examples on recent events that I've really learned to use as strategies to help you improve yourself as an everyday cyclist, starting with muscular endurance. Now, I've talked about muscular endurance time and time again, and for some of you, you hear it, and for some of you, you still don't. You still think that muscular endurance means going out and riding more miles, longer and longer hours. That's false. You can go out and ride for 4 or 5 hours today and address your muscular endurance zero. And what I mean by that, what muscular endurance really signifies is the ability for you to tension your core, your glutes, your hips, your quads, your hamstrings, your lower leg, hour after hour on a fluid, consistent basis for a sustained amount of typically zone 3 to low zone 4 or threshold level power. This is a skill. This is something that doesn't come natural to most athletes. Now, if you're a Ironman athlete or you're a triathlete, these things become more ingrained in you because slow and steady or moderate and steady becomes the mantra that you want to utilize. The everyday cyclist, however, tends to get caught up in short-term power, 20-minute power, 30-minute power, even 5 or 10-minute power. Now, these power equations are important, but if you want to go for 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 hours or more on a bike, then muscular endurance becomes everything. Because once your muscular endurance breaks, I don't care what kind of gearing you got on your bike. I don't care if you can super spin for the next 20 minutes to allow your body to recover. Once your muscular endurance dissipates down past the critical threshold, it's basically game over. I've seen other YouTubers talk about, I'm not going to mention any names, talk about the idea of spin it to win it. Using a granny gear, whether you're climbing or whatnot, and spinning at a fast, 100, 105, 110 RPM. I couldn't agree more that using faster RPMs is a great way to help your body continue to utilize that aerobic engine. And if fast enough, really using the anaerobic engine, which is a different video. The problem is that without the muscular endurance, the ability to tension enough power, sustained power, through your core, through your hips, through your legs, hour after hour, then you can spin all you like. It doesn't mean you're going to be generating enough power to continue the momentum that you're desiring on the bike. Do you understand? So you can continue to move at 110, 120 RPM, but you're going to see riders passing you pretty quickly. And one of the reasons for that is that if you haven't addressed your muscular endurance during the base phase of your training, then it's going to come back and haunt you. So for me, during the Cyclo 90 programs for the original and for masters in particular, I put between 40 and 50% of all the training, 40 to 50%, almost half, of all the training focused on developing longer and longer muscular endurance intervals from 5 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 80 minutes plus. And the benefit to you as an everyday cyclist, especially a master's level rider, is the ability to continually tension those legs and your hips without cracking, so to speak. Once those legs crack open, again, it's game over. So we want to build up basically a line of defense in advance before you attack your in-season, longer, harder goals. So when you watch things like Paris-Roubaix or Tour of Flanders or any of the spring classics, you're going to see riders with huge, supreme amounts of muscular endurance. Have you ever ridden on something like the Roubaix course or a gravel course or a tough mountain bike course? You know that once momentum is lost, it's game over. You're not going to get your momentum back up easily. It's going to cost you a huge amount of energy. And if you don't have the muscular endurance to do that, you're going to have a tough day. So you can sprint with 1,000 plus watts of power. If you can't sustain 300 watts of power for 2 hours straight, it's going to be a hard day. And again, I'm just giving you examples of power. Now let's talk about how that turns into future performance. Because once you're finished with my base phase, whether it's Cyclo-90 the original, or I know many of you are using Cyclo-90 Masters like I did, you should see a big open window of muscular endurance improvement. Not just in your FTP, your zone 4, which we've talked about before, but more importantly, your zone 3 sweet spot. This is the real definitive way to improve your performance over time. When zone 3 sweet spot, or basically just below your threshold, improves and it elongates how long you can hold that for, is when the real benefits come. So I'm going to really quickly show you an example right now. So as you're looking at me right now, I'm going to show you a power profile of the Roubaix Anima that I did on Monday. This is basically a 90-minute protocol that I've done many times before. That's basically a muscular endurance focused protocol between 85 and 95 RPMs of systematically bridging my power for 90 minutes straight. So it's a 90-minute test. Much like an FTP test, except it's not 8 minutes long, it's not 10 minutes long, it's not 20 minutes long, it's 90 minutes long. And the only way to achieve this test correctly without blowing up is to be able to have enough what? Muscular endurance. If you try to do this test at 100, 105, 110 RPM, I wish you luck. Your heart and your cardiovascular system, at least for most of us, is going to get to about the 30-minute marker and implode. The real trick here is to oscillate back and forth on your cadence, which is what I call bridging power. So as I'm fatiguing, my muscular strength, my muscular endurance at the lower cadence, lower heart rate, okay, I'm able to maintain, let's say, 300 watts, 305, 310 watts. I can then take a break for the next 5 minutes and up the RPM, drop the gear to an easier gear by 1 or 2, and compensate. So I'm basically switching between two different systems in a very marginal way. And if you really look at this profile, you're going to see basically a really boring, basically straight line to the untrained eye. However, in reality, that's not a straight line. That line is going above and below a certain number that I was targeting, which was about 305 watts. My current threshold is about 320 to 325. To do 90 minutes of that would be near impossible, because typically our threshold is going to kick out at about 60 minutes. So if I could hold 325 for 90 minutes, that would tell me my threshold is actually higher than 325. Does that make sense? It should. Because what this is really telling me, what this is really testing, is my zone 3 plus, or what we call our sweet spot performance. And again, this is the primary focus of finishing my Cyclo-90 programs for the base phase, and then bridging that to the Cyclo-90 in-season protocols. This is where that muscular endurance begins to shine. Because what we're going to do for longer and longer rides, such as the ride I have today, it's going to be about a 5 or 6 hour course, about 70 or 80 miles. The mileage really doesn't concern me. It's the difficulty level and the sections of time with higher demands. Those higher demand times are between 4 minutes and up to about 12 minutes long apiece. Those efforts have to be bridged between the rest intervals, if you will, between. To maintain a good average pace, I have to have the muscular endurance to get from each section to the next section. If I burn a match during one of the sections, I'll have to pay it back on the next hard section. If I am disciplined with my power, okay, disciplined with understanding the effort level using a heart rate monitor or a power meter or my rate of perceived exertion by practicing this again and again, now I don't make stupid mistakes, which is my third tip here. If you want to go long as a rider, you can have all the muscular endurance you want, all the gear you want, all the great stuff, that a light bike, the perfect tires. If you are not disciplined and practiced again and again in your personal training to attack a strategy on the course you have, then you only have yourself to blame when things go bad. Well, I did all this training, I did 10 hours or 15 hours per week of hard workouts, I did Graeme's HIIT sessions, I did those group rides every Tuesday, I got to my planned event, I got to my planned soul ride, whatever it is, and I cracked. Well, the bigger thing to usually look at is, why did you crack? Did you crack because you didn't have enough training? Did you not do well because you didn't do enough preparation? Probably not. You probably broke down because you made stupid mistakes, or you let your ego ride the bike for you too early in the course. So here's another quick example. Look at this. This is a premium customer of mine, a long-term customer of mine. I'm gonna put this down. That ran an A rider, and he just finished this course over in Australia, a 600 plus mile or 1,000 kilometer course over 2 days. I want you to look at his preparation, which was only using my core workouts, iron workouts, and some of my strategies and tips from Cyclo-90 Masters. Other than that, he came into this ride with basically no preparation at all, except for enough muscular endurance to back him up and enough riding intelligence as a seasoned rider. And he did a 620 plus mile course, okay, with no preparation at all other than his brain and discipline of riding. He did a phenomenal ride. I just got a letter from him this morning outlining exactly what he didn't do and what he did, and his change in perception on why he rode. He wasn't planning to do this. He decided to do it last minute, apparently, give himself a goal to work for, hasn't been doing very well on the bike, hasn't been feeling very good, I don't know what has been going on in his personal life, but he used this as something to keep him focused. And when he went out there and rode, he did what? He used his intelligence as 90% of his success, not his physicality. And if you want to be an endurance rider, especially a master's level endurance rider, never forget this fact, that the training that I can offer you with the core workouts and iron workouts and Cyclo-90 and masters, the coaching, oh, that's great. It creates the backdrop. But come game day, it comes down to you using that information at the right time and the right place and riding within yourself without distraction, without people getting in your way, without your ego or Strava or KOM segments throwing you off your planned agenda. Today's planned agenda, I've got a 6-hour ride. There's going to be truckloads of KOM segments on this ride. I will avoid all of them like the plague. I'll still ride on them, but I won't be going for segments or placings because it'll negate the purpose of the ride. The purpose of the ride is to get from point A all the way to point B 5 or 6 hours later without cracking, without having broken seams within the ride. Now I might have sections where I go slower or faster based on the terrain or the intensity needed to go over that terrain, but in general it's going to be like a duck in water, like that straight line that I showed you a couple of minutes ago. And that is not by random chance. These things are practiced again and again. Those of you that are finishing or using my Cyclo-90 Masters base program, we have been working on this week after week after week in a variety of different ways. It's not just sitting on a trainer and doing a straight line. We have lines all over the place with our training. But these things need to coalesce together at a finite moment in time, and that creates the bridge to that in-season protocol, 3 to 4 weeks of stacked training with multiple days in a row. This will actually be my 3rd day in a row. I did that 90-minute power test on Monday. I did a sprint or an acceleration workout yesterday, that's day 2, and then today is day 3, a zone 3 tough, it's a tough course today, 5-hour plus ride, 3 days in a row. Now you tell me, if I was just going to spin it to win it, would I be able to do today's ride? No. You've got to have the muscular endurance, strength, and intellect. You got to be able to outthink the course, stay disciplined on the course, and that's going to get you your rate of return. Anytime you come back from a ride, ask yourself one thing and one thing only. Did I stay true to myself for today's ride? If the answer is yes, it was a quality ride, regardless of the distance, time, speed, or KOMs. If you can't answer honestly or can't say yes, then the ride probably didn't have as much value as you hoped it did. It was just basically riding fodder. It got you nowhere. In fact, if anything, it's going to detract from your real needs moving down the road. I hope this is helpful for you. I love going long now. It used to be something that I used to dread past about 2 hours, 3 hours. It used to be a nightmare for me. Cramping, problems, bonking, fatigue. Now it's something that I can't wait to do. I hope you feel the same. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please share it with friends and fellow riders. If you're looking for a great program to help you build your muscular endurance, do the things we did today, look at my Cyclo-90 programs, in particular the Cyclo-90 Masters programs, as that's really isolated for the techniques and drills for building that supreme muscular endurance. So we speak again, rather than smile on your face. I'll talk to you soon.